All right, Travis, whether we want to or not, we're going to talk about a topic that comes up every 4 years: investing during a presidential election.
I just want the phone calls to stop, the commercials to stop.
Isn't that the truth? The
Yeah.
main point is simple. Just don't let politics dictate your investment strategy. The data shows that trying to time the market based on which party's in power is likely just going to hurt your portfolio, and it's really not going to help it.
Yeah, and we tell clients that all the time. But here's some numbers to back this up. So looking at the S&P 500 returns since 1950, we'll go back to 1950. You were there. So you probably remember that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you invested from 1950 on, if you invested during only Republican presidencies, you'd have seen an annualized return of 2.78%.
Wow.
I mean, you might be surprised at that number. I was a little surprised when I saw it.
Yeah, that's a little.
If you invested just during Democrat presidencies, that number is 5.2%.
Little higher, but not much.
I was surprised at that too, but
Yeah.
both are longer than average stock market returns, over that time frame. So if you would have stayed invested regardless of who was in the White House or who was in power, the annualized return jumps to 8.13%. Compounded since 1950.
That's a lot of money.
Right, it's a lot of money. And that's significantly better than trying to, time the market based on your politics.
That's so true. And it's a big difference there. Another common misconception is moving to cash during election years.
I'll just wait till it's over.
Oh yeah, it's wait till the dust clears. The data shows that if you invest in the S&P 500 only during non-election years since 1950, which supposedly when I was born, or I lived back then.
I said you were there.
And moved to cash during election years, your annualized return would have been only 6.32%.
So you're leaving a couple percent on the table almost, right?
Yeah. So that's lower than that 8.13, where if you just would have stayed fully invested.
Yeah. So it seems like the message is pretty clear here, Steve. Stay invested for the long run, regardless of politics. It's not just about which party's in power either. Markets have historically been positive under all types of compositions, whether one party's in control or if it's a divided Congress. During all those different combinations, markets are generally positive, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But of course, leading up to the elections and with the uncertainty building in markets, you're going to see short-term volatility. The CBOE Volatility Index, which measures investor sentiment, tends to rise up to election day if you look at it historically, but then often cools down once the election is over and all that stress is relieved from the system. Markets just want to know who is going to be in power, right?
It's so true. And so investors should focus, Travis, on the long-term goals instead of politics. Is that right?
That seems to pay off. The stats, it's the data. It's not,
That's right. I mean, it's black and white.
Yeah.
So while elections may create some uncertainty, they're just one of many variables, though, that can affect your investments. And the things that we're going to talk about here in a second are much greater. Other factors like economic crises and global pandemics can each have, both of those are going to have much larger significant impacts that we've seen in the past. We've lived through them.
So you've been doing this over 25 years, right?
20. Yep.
So think back to all the significant crises when people say, over your career, did you live through this? Did you live through this? You think of like the global financial crisis. You think of 9/11. You think of the dot-com bubble. You think of 2020's pandemic.
Financial crisis.
Right. So I didn't hear you mention any elections in there.
Not one.
That really drove things, when you look back. So let's summarize this for the viewers. Don't let political views drive your investment decisions. Stay invested for the long term. We know these things, but you need to be reinforced sometimes, right? Focus on your personal financial goals rather than election cycles. Election cycles are designed to drum up your emotions, right? Make emotion, feel emotional about things, and generally you'll make poor decisions if you're just going off of emotions and not data, right?
Absolutely.
Because the data clearly shows that's the best approach for most investors. So we'll leave you with this. When it comes to investing, leave politics at the door.
Yep. It's your end result as we showed today, is going to be much greater.
It's going to be much greater.
So Travis has been great. I look forward to it next week.
Look forward to it as well.